brain decides how much pain you're going to feel. Your brain decides how tired you get. And your brain decides how fast you're going to decline. And a lot of people think pain, fatigue, aging are things that happen to them. But here's the truth. They are predictions. And when the brain keeps predicting danger, threat, overload, stress, your body responds accordingly. So this is really important. If you don't understand this, you can train harder, stretch more, rest longer, eat better, and still feel stuck, drained, and limited. But when you understand this, when you learn how the brain creates pain, fatigue, and decline, you can actually gain that leverage. You gain the ability to influence your health, your performance, and your longevity. Welcome, I'm Heike Fallon, founder of Expand Health and the creator of the NeuroHP method. I combine neuroscience, sports therapy, and personal performance coaching to help people who are not willing to be limited. I help them optimize their health, their personal performance for longevity, and as I always say, the better you move, the better you feel, the better you'll live. Basically, living longer with more fun, and who doesn't want that? For over 30 years, I've studied the brain, the body, and their connection, and today I'm going to share how the brain predicts pain, fatigue, and decline. And in this video, we're going to talk about how the brain uses prediction to keep you safe, why pain and fatigue are not damaging signals, and how stress, vision, balance, and movement shape your brain's prediction. And why active people and high performers often feel so frustrated by the limits. And most importantly, what you can do to shift these predictions in your favor. Here's where it gets interesting. Once you understand this, you stop fighting your body and you start working with your brain. Before we start, make sure you grab my free PDF guide. It's below in the description, so just download it, print it out, and work with it. So here's what a lot of people don't realize. Your brain's job is not performance, it's not happiness, it's not even longevity. Your brain's number one job is survival. Everything your brain does is all about one question: am I safe right now? Your brain constantly predicts what will happen next. It predicts if there's pain, no pain, if there's energy or fatigue, strength or weakness, or stability, or really a collapse. And then your body acts on those predictions. So it's really your body responds to what the brain predicts. Here's what that means. The brain takes information from multiple systems: your vision, so your eyes, your balance, your inner ear, movement, breathing, all internal sensation, past experiences, all the memories, all the emotional memories, and it blends it all of that into one output. And that is a prediction. The prediction decides how much tension will be created, how much energy you have, or how much range of motion or range feels safe in using, and how fast you're going to recover. This is really important because your brain does not wait for damage, it predicts first. So pain is not proof something is wrong. Pain is proof your brain is cautious. A lot of people hear that and think, so pain is in my head. Well, no, pain is in your brain, and that's a big difference. Your brain uses pain as a protective strategies, just like fatigue, stiffness, decline. So that's all it does for a strategy. So let's talk first about fatigue, because this is huge for active people and leaders. Fatigue is not running out of fuel. It's your brain basically applying the brakes. The brain asks, can I maintain the output without risk? If the answer is unclear, it might show up as fatigue. This is why two people can do the same workout. So one person might feel more energized after the workout, and the other person may feel completely exhausted. It's the same stimulus, but different prediction. And this is something I teach my client all the time. Your energy levels are regulated. They're not fixed. Now, let's talk about decline, because this is where longevity really comes in. A lot of people assume aging equals decline. Less energy, less balance, more pain. But when you look at the brain, decline is not inevitable. Your brain adapts and to what it's expecting. So if your brain expects less movement, less challenge, less sensory input, more caution, it builds the body to match that prediction. So here's the real key. Your brain ages based on the signals it receives, not just time. And this is what's important, because people try to fix pain at the tissue level. They try to fix fatigue with resting. They try to fight aging with more motivation, but the brain is in charge of all of this. And why wouldn't you start with the brain, with a brain-based approach? So in this section, we're going to look at how the brain builds these predictions and why vision balance plays such a big role, a bigger role than most people realize. In the survival hierarchy, the eyes are most important. Your brain trusts your eyes more than anything else. And a lot of people think vision is all about just eyesight, right? Clear vision when I'm driving, when I'm reading, but your brain uses vision primarily for safety. So your visual system constantly has to answer a very important question as well. Where I am in space? Am I moving or am I still? Is the world stable? Is the horizon really where the horizon is? Can I predict what's next? And when those answers are clear, the brain relaxes, and when these are unclear, the brain predicts danger. And when your brain predicts danger, that increases your pain, increases your fatigue, your movement will be limited. And this is really important because many of my clients come into my office and did not know they have functional visual stress or dysfunction. And it does not mean when you have 20/20 vision that your brain can't be still confused, because your brain is not asking, can I see? It's asking, can I trust what I see? So here's what I mean. If your eyes struggle to track movement, right? Or your eyes fatigue quickly, you might get a headache or neck tension, especially after screen time. Or if you're in busy environments with noise and overhead light, your brain might receive mixed signals. And these mixed signals mean uncertainty. And uncertainty means threat. And when threat is predicted, your brain increases protection. And protection, again, looks like muscle tension, joint stiffness, range of motion might be reduced. You feel earlier fatigue, slower recovery. And because you're not weak, but because your brain is cautious. And this is something I see oftentimes. Active people, they're still training, they're moving, but suddenly they feel off, or they get tired faster, or they don't really trust their body as well anymore, and they assume it's decline. But when we assess it, oftentimes it's the visual system. Their tracking might not be very good, your peripheral vision might be compromised, their near-far might not be as good, and that can tremendously impact them. So once we train the eyes and the vestibular system, their energy gets better, the pain goes away, and life is a whole lot better. And that's not by pushing harder, but by giving the brain better information. Now let's talk about balance. I always get questioned about balance, because balance is not a strength skill, it's a brain skill. Your balance system is deeply connected to survival, and your brain constantly asks, am I upright? Am I stable? Can I recover? If something changes, if the answer is uncertain again, the brain limits the output. So poor balance makes you tired, even if you don't constantly trip and fall. So here's what people don't realize. Your balance system feeds directly into your autonomic nervous system. So that means the heart rate regulation, breathing pattern, muscle tone, energy availability. So if your balance system is not functioning as well, your nervous system shifts towards protection. And what active people miss oftentimes, if you're active, if you're a leader, if you're a high performer, you're often good at pushing through. I used to. You adapt, you compensate, you make it work, but your brain won't forget. And it stores that compensation as a prediction. And that's when people think, after 40, it goes downhill from here. It's not. It's actually because the system cannot compensate anymore. And that shows up in pain, fatigue, feeling very limited. And oftentimes we think we need more strength, we need more mobility, we need more discipline, but your brain needs more clarity, more accurate input, more confidence in prediction. And here's a simple thing you can try. It's a near-far vision drill, and I encourage you to participate right now. You can use your thumb, or you can use, I like using a pen usually, and what you do is you're going to stand with your feet hip-width apart, and you can also do this seated if this doesn't feel good, but you're going to hold it at eye level, look at the pen, and look at something further away, and at the pen, something further away, at the pen, something further away, and at the pen. So that's easy because we're not moving somewhere, right? But have you tried it to rotate a little bit? And now you're rotating your head, and you're going to look at the pen and then let something away. And again, switching. Make sure you're breathing and muscles are relaxed. And you might turn it the other way. You may do it standing with your feet together. You may do it standing on one leg in a lunge position. Different positions are very important because you want to keep the novelty. I'm going to talk about that a little later. But this is how you train your brain with a brain-based approach. Now let's go a little deeper on pain, because this is where a lot of people are confused, and I don't blame them. It's confusing. So oftentimes they come back and they go like, well, they scanned my back, but there's nothing to see. And my doctor says there's nothing really wrong, but I have pain, my back hurts, and it feels really real. It's there, right? And here is what you need to understand. Pain does not require damage. Pain is not necessarily a tissue problem. Pain is a prediction problem. So pain is an output of the brain. Let me say that again. Pain is an output of the brain. It is created after your brain evaluates all the information, like I said, what comes in, from your movement, from your eyes, and it's trying to predict, and it asks the question, is this movement safe? Have I experienced this before? Did it end badly before? Did it work out pretty well? What are the memories I have of this? So if your brain detects any uncertainty, pain becomes a protective response. And here's what I mean. You can have the healthiest joints, the strongest muscles, good mobility, and still feel pain because your brain doesn't measure tissue, it measures threat. And oftentimes I hear that from my client. I was told there's nothing wrong, but it still hurts. And if nothing is wrong, why does it still feel unsafe is something you repeat in your head, and then you start believing it. And your brain needs more evidence, not just reassurance by repeating the words. So the key concept here is that you have to give the brain good input so it has good experiences. We call it also a mismatch. Pain often comes from a mismatch. So there's a mismatch of sensory input, for example, between your eyes and your vestibular, or information coming from within. So what your brain predicts and what your body delivers is a mismatch. Then it's more instability, so more balance issues, loss of control, delayed response. And again, that increases your pain. And what most people do, they start stretching the painful area, the massage that spot, and they go for the symptoms. And the root problem isn't where the pain is located, it's actually somewhere else, more likely an input problem. So you don't fix pain by convincing the brain, you fix pain by informing the brain. So movement is not just exercise, it's actually input. Every movement tells your brain something. It gives it information, and it tells it, I'm safe, I'm controlled, I can handle this. Or it can say, you know what, this feels a little risky, or I don't trust this. So your brain updates prediction based on that information. This is really important because doing the same movement over and over can actually reduce your confidence. So repetition feels safe to us consciously, but the brain needs variety. When movement becomes too predictable, your brain stops learning and updating and goes like, I kind of already know that, and if the whole novelty disappears. So less novelty, on the other hand, means so less learning. Less learning means less adaptability, and less adaptability is not good for longevity, because longevity is all about adaptability. So if you've been doing the same exercises over and over, it's time to change, and change it up by challenging your brain. If you have done the same routine for years, and you go like, well, I don't feel injured, but my body feels kind of limited. Well, start introducing small changes. Do different angles. Like I said, put your feet differently, more together on one leg. Change tempo. Don't do the squats the same speed all the time. Do cross-body patterns. Integrate visual vestibular exercises. And before you know it, your pain actually goes away and energy increases. And not because you do more, but because you use a brain-based approach. And that's really what your brain needs. It needs safe novelty. And that's how we stay young. And this is also a core part of my NeuroHP method. We don't train muscles, we train the communication. Of course, muscle strength is important as far as the fibers, but we are training a whole lot more communication with the visual system, the balance system, breathing, coordination, timing. All those help the brain to predict better, and you want to make sure that your brain feels capable, confident, and in control before you add intensity. So intensity is all good, don't get me wrong. You want to add that, but first your brain needs to be feeling safe. And here's something you can try today. Take a moment, something that you do often, walking, squatting, whatever is part of your routine, and now try to change it. Change direction in your squats, right? Or lunges. Change the speed when you do that. Challenge your brain, and then start noticing how you feel. And, if you feel really fatigued and exhausted, you might need to scale it down a little bit, but you do want to constantly challenge it. And another thing that I like to talk about is the nervous system state, because prediction depends on your state. So let's talk about the state. Your brain does not predict from logic, it predicts from regulation. So the more stressed you feel, the brain predicts more danger everywhere. And that's really important, because you can have great movement, good habits, strong motivation, but if your nervous system is dysregulated due to stress or overly fatigued, your brain stays cautious, and that have further implication because your autonomic nervous system kind of constantly runs in the background, so to speak, because it decides how alert you are. It decides how calm you feel, how quickly you recover, how much energy is available, and constantly shift between that protection and performance. And when protection dominates, pain increases, fatigue increases, recovery slows, not because you're doing something wrong, but because your brain prioritizes survival. So in that case, you don't always need more rest. Rest is helpful, but rest alone does not retrain prediction. If your nervous system never experienced safety while moving, your brain keeps predicting risk. And this is why some people rest more but feel weaker or more fragile. So longevity isn't about rest, longevity is about regulated capacity. And instead of just resting, you might want to rest and add brain-based exercises to change your sensory input. One other key component of your nervous system state is that it changes how you interpret sensation. In a regulated state, sensation might feel neutral. In a stress state, the same sensation can feel threatening. That's why pain can fluctuate from day to day without any tissue damage. So you probably experience this. One day you feel strong, you move great, and another day everything hurts, feels tight, it feels awful. It's the same body, it's just a different state. And that can be stress, that can be sleep, that can be a cold, that can be just all kinds of other things depending on your nervous system state. So before you train performance, train regulation first and more quality input. Before intensity, make sure you're first establishing safety. This is not about doing less, it's about doing the things that are in the right order. And that's why it requires always a good warm-up before you start anything. Your brain needs safety to allow strength. And when you think about longevity, it's not about avoiding aging, it's about maintaining adaptability, curiosity, capacity, confidence, and your brain stays young when it keeps learning. So pain, fatigue, decline, they are not your enemies. They are signals. They are your brain saying, I need better information. And when you give your brain what it needs, movement gets better, pain goes away, and you're also not going to feel like you're aging so fast. So this is why the NeuroHP method is brain first, and we integrate the brain, the body, environment, self-leadership, because longevity isn't about one habit, it's a whole system. A system that supports really the health, the performance, sustainability, and joy at the end of the day. So you don't age because time passes, you age when prediction narrows. So don't forget to share this video with anyone that you think will benefit from this and needs to know this. I constantly upload new science-based content and follow along exercises, so make sure to subscribe to my channel and don't miss out. I'm Heike Fallon, and I hope you will start investing in yourself starting today, because you deserve it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next episode.